Hello again, watch friends. Welcome back. I've had a Seiko SARB033 for a couple of years. I put off doing a review since it seems that every Tom, Dick, and Harry has done a review of this archetypal watch, and I'm not sure I had much to add to what's already been said. However, now that it's on the eve of discontinuance, is that a word? I thought I'd share a few thoughts on this piece. By the way, also about to be discontinued are the SARB017, otherwise known as the Alpinist, the SARB035, which is the white dial sibling of the 033, and also the Seiko SB-DX017, which is a 300-meter water-resistant Marine Master diver. So, a while back, I did a review comparing the SARB033 with the Seiko Grand Seiko, and posed the question if the SARB was a baby grand. There's a link to that video above this image. So I'll let you come to your own conclusion about that, as I will also let you come to your own conclusion about how you should describe the SARB033. There's a word that's really overused in the various watch YouTube channels and Facebook groups and other places online, and that word is iconic. So the 033, is it iconic? Is it archetypal? Is it quintessential? Is it the heart and soul of Seiko? Again, you can decide. And I may have a few more comments about that toward the end of this video. So, but first, let me talk a little bit about history about Seiko. So Seiko was started by Kintaro Hitori in 1881 when he opened a shop in Tokyo where he repaired timepieces and sold imported watches and clocks. In 1892, he started a watchmaking factory where he started making his own pocket watches, table and wall clocks, focusing on highly precise, for the time, timepieces. As a result, he named his company Seikosha. In Japanese, Seiko means exact, and sha means house. So it was deemed House of Exact Watches, more or less. The first wristwatch was created in 1913, called the Laurel, and it was the first wristwatch made entirely in Japan. The Laurel was a small 30mm wide by 11mm tall watch with a 7-jewel hand-wound movement and an enamel dial made in-house. It wasn't until 1924 that the first Seiko branded watch appeared. So Seiko, the brand. Seiko now makes dozens of models in every conceivable price point. From inexpensive but surprisingly good Seiko 5 models to Grand Seiko and Creedor models costing thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. I think the SARB line is the quintessential Seiko models, and want to share my thoughts on the 033. Billed as an automatic sport watch, but can also do double duty in the office or on dressy occasions, it was originally introduced in 2008, and many color variants appeared over the next decade. There were red ones, blue ones, green ones, orange ones. Most of those were discontinued a few years ago and have really disappeared from the secondhand market. The dial on the SARB033 has a glossy black finish that gives off slightly different appearances depending on the light. Highly polished, razor-sharp Dauphine or sword-style hands, although not at the same level of finishing as those on a Grand Seiko, tell the hours and minutes on this watch. These hands are nicely proportioned and make time reading very easy. I also like the needle-like seconds hand, which has a diamond-shaped counterbalance. The seconds hand extends to the beveled and well-executed chapter ring. Applied stick markers are present at every hour except 3 o'clock, where the date window appears. Fortunately, the date wheel has white numbers on a black background, which is harmonious with the dial, I think. There is some loom on the hour and minute hands and at the inside edge of the markers, which gives some nighttime viewing capability, but in reality, not very much. As usual, the applied Seiko marquee appears just under 12 o'clock, and automatic 23 jewels is displayed at the bottom. Minimal markings on the dial, which I like because they add a non-ostentatious and classy look to the dial, are present, and the 033 has a sapphire crystal, but no AR coating, no anti-reflective coating. The case is made of 316L stainless steel. It is 38.4 millimeters in diameter, 11 millimeters in height, and for me, 38 to 40 millimeters is the sweet spot size-wise, and this watch fits my wrist perfectly. Lug-to-lug distance is about 45 millimeters, making it sit nicely on the wrist. And then, by the way, I think it sits nicely on many wrists, not just my more or less slightly above average size 7.5-inch wrist. I think on smaller wrists, this watch also seems appropriate and is nicely sized. The bezel is polished, whereas the main part of the case is brushed, including the lugs. Obviously, the polished portion is more prone to scratching than the brush surface. The screw-down exhibition case back is also polished. While the 6R15 movement is not finely detailed, it is a nice touch to see the workings of the movement through the exhibition case back. And in fact, the backside crystal is Seiko's Hardlex mineral glass, a synthetic material that is extremely resistant to scratching. Seiko has been using Hardlex for many decades on a variety of watches at different price points. The crystal on the dial side, I think as I mentioned before, is sapphire. Water resistance is a healthy 100 meters, which means that you don't need to be afraid of getting the SARB anywhere near water. Still, I wouldn't shower or swim with it. That's just me. The only watches I swim with are divers, and newer ones at that. The strap is a 3-link bracelet, which has no micro adjust, and some people have expressed concerns about not getting an exact comfortable fit. Personally, I have no issue with the bracelet. It seems fine on my, as I mentioned, 7.5-inch wrist. I also think the look of the oyster style bracelet is adequate, with its polished sides and brushed top links. I might go as far as to call it nice, although some people disagree. The bracelet features solid end links, also a sign of slightly more upscale pieces, bracelets for watches. Finally, a double locking clasp ensures that the watch to wrist attachment is very secure. As mentioned, the in-house Seiko 6R15 automatic movement, which also appears on the Cocktail Time, the Prospect Divers, and other SARBs, like the 017 Alpinist and the 035 Cream Dial. This movement is an upscale of the version of the 7S and 4R calibers, and beats at 21,600 beats per hour. The movement has hacking and hand winding, which are not available on the lesser Seiko in-house movements. Also, the 6R15 has a 50-hour power reserve. On the time grapher, I get about plus 6 seconds per day, although Seiko specs the movement at plus 25, minus 15 seconds per day. As I have discussed in some of my other videos, and maybe you have or seen or read online, some Seiko watches, when you get them, it's kind of a luck of the draw. You can get one that is within the cost specifications, minus 4 to plus 6. You can get ones in the plus 10 second range, or you can get ones that are still in spec, but plus 20. So, I don't know if it really depends on where exactly the watch is made, but this SARB033 is a JDM version of the watch. JDM is Japanese domestic market, although it's readily available in the U.S. and other countries. The 6R15 movement uses a Sprawn 510 mainspring, which provides somewhat more anti-magnetic properties than one might expect at this price point. It's clear that the Seiko 6R15 is the equal of the, here it goes, iconic Swiss movement 2824-2 that is seen in a plethora of Swiss brands, costing in the hundreds to the low thousands a piece. So, overall impressions. Well, it's the SARB033 is a conservative design, which actually suits me just fine. Some people complain about this, but they don't have to buy the watch if they don't like it. The 033 has a quiet sophistication and exudes the Seiko grammar of design in a modern aesthetic. As I mentioned, it is a JDM model, but is now available readily in North America. So, some final thoughts. I previously owned a white/cream dial 035, but it got little wear, so I sold it. I still like that version, though. I still have the green dial SARB017 Alpinist and plan to keep it. It's such a idiosyncratic Seiko piece. I think it's fantastic. I'm still surprised that Seiko is discontinuing the 033, 035, and the 017. I've thought for a long time, while they were at the core of the Seiko Classic product line, not too expensive, but still classy and sporty, that they'd be around for a very long time. Maybe there will be some updated models that are similar. Seiko, of course, is quite secretive of their future models. Interestingly, Seiko discontinued other models in the SARB line about 3 or 4 years ago. As I mentioned, these were beautiful red, blue, copper, pink dial models. Extremely hard to find these days, but if you look them up, do a little research, they're just plain gorgeous. Don't know why they discontinued those. They were pretty much instant collector's items. So the SARB033 has an air of understated elegance and is reasonably priced. I think it's going to be missed once it's completely gone, and I suggest you pick one up while you still can, since it's a tremendous value. I see prices creeping up in anticipation of the 033's demise. I think now they go for close to $400. You can still get them on Amazon. I think I paid maybe $3.25 a couple of years ago for mine. I wouldn't be surprised if they start getting up in the $500 range and maybe even higher as time goes on. Finally, the SARB033 dial is highly legible, making it very easy to read the time, even in dim light. So there it is, the Seiko SARB033. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button to be notified of future videos. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.